Hey guys, Infidel1258 here. Today we're going to get into some more comments from the comment section. If you're new to my channel, my name is Dwayne. I go by Infidel1258. You can just call me 12. And I look at my comment section on my YouTube channel regularly because I know that's a place where I'm going to hear what you guys are interested in talking about. I look for comments, I look for questions, I look for something that has substance or meat on the bones that I can really get into. And so if you leave comments, I will do my best to respond. And when I do, I would like to say thank you. So leave your IGN and I will send you a little DEC. Let's get into it. Everything in crypto is a gamble. Banana says, we're talking about on this video, this was a comment from a SPS now, rebellion later conversation. And there was a comment in that FAQ where I responded to somebody who was saying, I would rather have SPS now because there's a greater probability that that's going to imminently moonshot. And I say in there, and I would repeat anytime, like I think I am excited about SPS. I think SPS can go, 50x. I think that's possible. 100x is possible. It depends on a lot of sort of things coming together. I say that, if where they're aiming happens and if there's no sort of external factors that it can be black swan events, because that's always possible too. But if we get sort of that perfect storm, I could imagine because of flywheel, because of adoption, because of new players, because of, I could really see it going crazy. But in that video, I say, I like card ownership in a way that I think maybe the commenter is ignoring. Card ownership is more resilient, more secure, more prudent than SPS. SPS is obviously, there's some huge upside, but there's also massive downside. Crypto tokens soar to the moon, but they also fall below the floor, and they'll blow you up in both ways, that exciting joy of a bull market and in a devastation of a bear market. Whereas NFTs that have functionality in a card game that are themselves collectible and scarce, they have a certain collectability that overrides a bit of the bear market issue, meaning people want their collectibles, don't want to say goodbye to them. Therefore, there's a certain floor to those assets. That's been my expectation. That's been what I've felt and seen in this space in the years I've been here. So that was the conversation. And then Banana says, everything in crypto is a gamble. You are correct to use caution. However, I do think the idea of buying SPS now over Rebellion packs makes some sense. So do I. It's a nuanced conversation. Depends for everybody though, right? But let's go further. I more than doubled my SPS holdings recently because I sense the tides may be turning and the price may increase. If it works out, I probably sell some of my SPS and use the profit for other things. If it doesn't work out though, I won't be heartbroken because I do intend to be a player in the game for years. I'll just hold on to the SPS longer if my senses are wrong. So there's two things I want to address to Bananas. First and foremost, three. First easy one is I totally support buying more SPS. I have been buying more SPS. And when I can't afford more SPS, I'm staking. I'm not selling a single SPS. Recently, there was a commenter who said I was, which is so wrong. I have about 232,000 SPS right now. Let's pull that up on the screen. 232,000. And I'm making about 500 a day or something like that. They're almost 238. And as you can see, I got about... This is just today, I think. So we got about 110 there, 225 there. There's, I guess, 269. So I'm stacking SPS. I'm a huge fan. I think it's going to have an exciting next bull market. That's the first point. The second point is I definitely value rebellion packs. And I think that's going to be a game-changing set. And it's important to have you've got a strong articulation of why SPS is important, but I guess my question is, do you agree that rebellion is important? And if so, how are you wrestling with those two things? So yeah, I would restate the same comment I made in that video, which is, do you consider rebellion the valuable asset that I do? And I hope you're not thinking about it from the lens of Chaos Legion, because that's a totally different entity. Rebellion is game-changing. Summoner Tactics is game-changing. The multicolor summoners is game-changing. 5 new abilities is game-changing. This is a big set and it's a big deal, and they're going to be far more scarce than Chaos Legion ever was, and therefore the promo cards and the airdrops that come out of that are also. So I think some of these key cards are worth struggling with a little bit. I wouldn't go so like SPS is all that matters. That's my only point. And then two more quick things. You doubled your SPS holdings. Because you probably sell some. Oh, you will sell some if there's an opportunity for profit. I love that. You're making a plan, and now if you start to reach targets, you will act on that plan. That's the key, though. You can't just say these things and then not do them. So if we get to, for instance, 10x where we're at, like 16 cents, that'd be a really key. That'd be a massive gain, right? Now you might think in your head, well, I believe SPS is going to $1 one day. Yes. So do I. But is that happening in the next, is that happening within the next 12 months? Because that's the window with which you can buy this amazing new set. And again, wrestling with the reality of what you would expect, having actual targets that you would be willing to sell at, and then like make your plan executable, right? Your plan has to actually have targets that once you reach, you act. If it's just a vague, when it goes up, I will sell some, you probably won't. And then the next bear market will come and you'll feel frustrated. So actually fine tune it. And I don't know what the targets should be. I'm not saying 10x makes sense. I'm saying, to me, that's like a number where I'd be like, okay, that's pretty serious. That'd be a massive gain. And so again, think that through. And then finally, you said, this is the last part I want to leave on because it's so important and everybody needs to hear this and do this. If it doesn't work out, I won't be heartbroken, because I do intend to play the game for years. I'll just hold on to the SPS longer if my senses are wrong. This is so important when we get into a game like Splinterlands, when we get into a cryptocurrency investment period, any cryptocurrency, even Bitcoin. If you buy and the Bitcoin goes down, are you worried about it over the next days, weeks, months? Or are you thinking in decades to come, I want this value, I want the asset, I want the utility of this token? If you are in the latter, like you have no horizon for when you have to, extract, that is such a place of power for this revolutionary technology. Broadly speaking, for Bitcoin, as well as for altcoins, as well as for an NFT game like Splinterlands. The thing is, if you believe in it, and if you think it's going to be here for the long haul, then I absolutely agree. And I do. I agree with you. But I'm saying anyone listening who wonders this stuff, who's not quite sure, this is so key to taking your next step. If you believe this game is going to be here in the future, if you believe they've got a good plan for the future, if you believe the game is fun and entertaining right now, then just enjoy the process for what it is. Enjoy the acquisition as is reasonable within your prudence and your investment possibilities and criteria. Like your however much money you've got to take reasonably, do so over a long time horizon, dollar cost averaging into a bigger position, because why? You believe in it, you enjoy it, and then just enjoy the process and watch the portfolio grow. Not just financially first and foremost, from a units, like a nominal perspective. Like, I mean, you will have more cards in a month than you have today because you earn them for free. Some of them will be soulbound. Many of them will be soulbound. Some of them will be owned because you'll buy some with, SPS you earn from play and then maybe sell and you'll buy some cards with it. But watch your portfolio grow. I mean cards, I mean SPS, I mean resources from land, I mean everything, vouchers incidentally that comes from this. And so it's absolutely the case that this posture that Bananas is espousing will transform his ability to succeed, because it's a different perspective. It's not, if this doesn't work out in 3 weeks, I'm selling it all. That is a gamble. What Bananas is talking about is a confidence, like a long-term confidence. And that is going to change his approach to ebbs and flows of price, which is so hard to bear in a cryptocurrency market where prices radically change across months and years. And so love it. This is the approach that I think will win. This is the approach that I take. And I just appreciate you, Bananas. Thank you. Okay, so this looks like a detailed comment from a few days ago. So Postbeat said on a recent card burning video, this was me talking about how a card burning event that Splinterlands would host with prizes that they would distribute to some of the best, from some of the highest burners, I think it'd be a great idea. And I outline a lot of reasons. If you're interested in why, check out that video. But so Post says, there's been some discussion in the comments after one of Aftersun videos about what the prizes could be for such a card burning. And some people were concerned that it wouldn't burn many cards. Well, first of all, That is just like, wow, that'll be so totally wrong. It'll burn as many cards as financially makes sense to you. This is a free market. I want to read the whole question, and I'm not saying supposed to, I'm not even disagreeing with supposed, but I just want to like get this out there. The cards being burnt will happen to the extent that it makes sense financially to do so. So if there's 1 cent cards that are on the marketplace that people can buy and they can get 1.5 cents worth of value out of them by burning them, they will buy them until there are no more 1 cent cards. That is just free market economics. And so it will impact it so long as the financial compensation is adequate. Let's carry on. He goes, I spitballed a crazy idea, but no one ever got back to me. What do you think, 12? What about a legendary card, but with a Rooney-style minting process in which you get a unique variant depending on what cards you burn? It would be slightly chonky design challenge for the team, but I imagine if there were multiple burn chambers for forging this beast with different unlockable targets, you could pile certain rarities into different chambers and unlock certain stats and abilities. I'm liking what I'm hearing, but there might even be more chambers for certain skins and visual card styles, or even to determine what splinter the card is. This way, not only do people end up with a very unique version of a promo card, some with a tank, some with a glass cannon, all with appropriately calculated mana cost, of course. Now that's the tricky part. You make it sound like that. I have to stop in the middle here because it's like you make it sound like that's super easy. And I don't think that is. I think if you just had random card creation with random stat attribution, as you would in some sense, if you just piled 20 cards in, burnt them and saw what came out, and some sort of Frankenstein of those cards would be popped out on the end product, you would probably end up with some OP cards that were just broken. It could be fun. It could be really fun. But I don't agree with, I think, the implication that this would just work, because you say all with a calculated mana cost, of course. How would that be calculated? So far, you haven't explained it. Let's see if you do in the remaining sentences. I mean, a whale could build an absolute monster card with a high health, high speed, crazy attack, but the mana cost, of course, the cards burned would be exponential. I see what you're saying. I see. So the more you burn, the higher the mana cost would be. So even if the card gets amazing and better and better and better, maybe it's like, yeah, interesting. But crucially, it would compel whales to forge multiple different versions with different stats and in different splinters, which would burn a whole ton of cards. That's very cool. You would only be able to use one version in any given battle, of course. So they're just paying for diversity if they want it for different rule sets. Imagine the tactical theorizing before an event like this. And then, of course, you can customize your cards by burning more cards for skins and accessories. Boom, everyone wins. Everyone's own unique purginators. That's a fun word too. I really like this idea. I'm gonna let this be my last comment. Usually I do 3. This is like, there's a lot to say here, so I'm gonna wrap on this one. But I'm gonna give a bit of a thorough response here. I like this idea a lot. I think there's some this is not to discourage it, but I have to say I see difficulties in implementing this strategy. One is that how would the art design team wants to have a certain feel to the game. This feels like it's going to be throw cards into a blender, see what comes out. The visuals can be a sampling of those parts and pieces, themes and styles, palettes, etc. But is it going to reflect the vision of Nate and the team? I doubt it. It's going to be very garbled. Now, that doesn't mean bad. It might sound like I'm being critical. I don't think I'm being critical. I think I'm being realistic. I don't think that's even necessarily a terrible thing if it is garbled. To me, some sort of Frankenstein type card might be really fun and cool. And if we look at some of the cards in the game, I don't think we have such a pure artistic theme that runs through the course of all the collections of the game that it would necessarily be worrisome if there was an introduction of a new, really different card. So I am not saying that disqualifies it. I'm just saying artistically, I think we'd be fighting a fight with the team because they want to see a refined visual image that is on brand, that is their theme, that is within their palette and tone, etc. And I don't blame them for that. So that's going to be one of the battles for implementing something like this. Second is the power, because you talk about how the power, the abilities, it'll be implemented dependent on what goes into the burn. And so conceivably, like with Diablo, when you people know Diablo, and you know the cube, you get your cube and you put 3 small rubies and you get a big ruby, and you put, an armor, a ruby, and some Zod, and rune, and it comes out with like some sort of new armor. And those formulas, what I think, maybe they would have to be formulaic. I don't think they could just be random. I think there would have to be formulas that when you put in 3 of this card, you get this one ability from that card. And that process would be super complicated to plan. I have to say, I don't think a randomized version would be possible. You would get overpowered cards. So you could do a formulaic approach, but it would be a ton of work. It might be awesome and totally worth it work, but it would be a ton of work. So quickly, just to expound, I think randomization of the stats, of the data, of the abilities absolutely leads to many, many cards being garbage and a few cards being so broken they absolutely are priceless within the game like this. And I think they could be game breaking in the hands of certain whales who have the capacity to just work and work and work and create those cards. So I don't love the randomized. I do like a formulaic approach, like a Diablo 2, where there are certain formulas to create certain, you get your Enigma armor is I forget the recipe now, but there's a specific recipe and it will always come out as an Enigma if you use the right runes in the right order with the right sockets in the right armor class. That could be really cool. But you'd have to imagine the team creating a whole library of recipes and either letting us discover them, maybe through farming on land or some, lore-based event where you start to discover these recipes that exist in the Praetoria. And it's almost like some dark magic that's making these purginators that as you call them. And, there could be a wide range of classes of these. Then it wouldn't be like Rooney where everyone is the same abilities and stats. It might be there's a tank version, maybe there's 5 tank versions of the Purginator, there's 5 support monsters, there's 5 melee or a magic, there's 5 archeries, and you can subdivide and go, it'd be like a choose your own adventure. I think that could be amazing. It's almost like an RPG style experience where you're making a hero and you're choosing to increase its armor, you're choosing to increase its speed, but then there would have to be sacrifices. I don't agree with part of what you said in here, which is that you said, a whale could build an absolute monster of a card with health, speed, and attack, but you're essentially saying the mana cost will be the limiter, because if it's 99 mana, well, you're not going to hardly ever play it, so it's not going to make much of an impact. I don't like leaving mana as the sole restrictor or limiter on OP cards. I would want to see formulaic creation of these, and we would have, like, let's say 20 new cards that could be created. It might even be like a mini set that we create in the future. Picture 24 cards that come to Splinterlands. It's a new expansion set, but the only way to get it is by burning old cards, and you have to follow the formulas that exist to burn 3 of these commons and burn 4 of those rares and burn 5 of these, right? And then if you do this formula, you're going to end up with this tank. And the stat range, maybe it's not a precise stat range. Maybe it's, if you choose tank 1, it might have, 1 armor, 2 melee, 3 speed, and 5 health. But then you can get a different tank 2 has totally different stats. Tank 3 has totally different stats. As long as it's formulaic, as long as there's a range or an exact finite stat data on each card, that could be really, really fun. It would be a choose your own adventure with the deck. It would burn a ton of cards, and it could be very exciting. So I like the idea, and I love the theorizing that would entail. But I think there's a couple big problems with the idea. Nevertheless, thank you for the comment, and I love that idea. Purginators coming to Splinterlands. I love that. Okay, I'm going to leave it there, guys. Have an amazing day. God bless.